Welcome to What Am I Doing, episode 1. We're just going to call this our, exercise breakdown channel. So today we're talking mat deadlifts, and to give you a little backstory on my deadlifting journey, I tore my bicep in the fall of 2022. I was doing probably only 315, 365 through reds. For me, not a crazy heavy weight. Supinated. I was actually conventional and bicep, very common in that supinated grip pop. So I started kind of deadlifting again back in, to the summer of 2023. And the mat deadlift was one of the easiest ways for me to kind of work my way back into deadlifting because it felt so foreign. And, now I do the hook grip. So I think this is a really important one to start off with What Am I Doing, episode 1. Okay, so just for personal training purposes, the mat deadlift is such a great way for someone who's learning to deadlift for the first time to get them to the range of motion of deadlifting off the floor. So just purely from a technical aspect, it's a great way to wave down. So here at Matheny Muscle, we'll start with only 3 mats. These are 0.75 inches, so 3 right here. It's a little over 2 inches. And then week 1, we'll wave it down, pull one out, pull a second. And week 3, maybe from 1 mat or just go straight to the floor. So 3, 2 from the floor or 3, 2, 1. All right, so if I have someone new who's never deadlifted before, we'll start them at 3, just get them comfortable with that hinge position, right? And then each week it's a little less range of motion. The second reason I love this is for powerlifting purposes. This is a big reason we, at Old School, we had success with our deadlift is because we would wave down right before a meet. So the thought is each week you can kind of overload the position. So from 3, and we'll break this down later, from 3 mats, it's a little less range. So the hope is you're overloading, getting a little more weight in your hand from 2 or compared to 1, right? So the next week, we'd start 4 weeks out. Week 4, we would do 3 mat. Week 3, 3 weeks out, 2 mats. And then 2 weeks out, 1 mat. And then we'd take our opener from the floor about a week, 10 days out from the meet, okay? So mat deadlifts are just great for waving down into a powerlifting meet, getting used to it, right? That last week, we believed it was really important to pull from the floor just so you're kind of getting comfortable into what the position you're going to be pulling close to the meet, okay? And the last reason I think mat deadlifts are great, it's really good for addressing weaknesses. So you would think with less range of motion, you'd be able to overload, right, and do more. But maybe you're someone whose lockout is weaker. So I've been in the position before when I'm deadlifting where maybe I'm actually a little stronger off 1 mat than compared to 3. Conventional wisdom, you would think, okay, less range of motion once again, I should be able to lift more. It's not always the case. So it's a good way for identifying and attacking weaknesses. So to simply take you through it, we can start with 3 mats, a little more lockout. Okay, so it's less leg drive and it's more focused on that lockout position. So we could call it more glutes at that top end, right? So if you're missing that, maybe it's like, hey, I need to be working on some core and glutes if you're missing more from the top end. Now, as you work your way down, you get a little more leg drive, okay, and it's a little less lockout focus, right? I don't really believe that we have these sticking points, but if you're like, hey, I'm not feeling comfortable, a couple inches off the ground, put the mats in that same position. And then as you work your way down, we can even work our way into deficit deadlifts, where we're standing on a mat, okay, and now the bar is farther away. And as you get into the deficit work, which I think is great, and you should include it into your deadlifting program, deficit deadlifts are going to cause you to create more leg drive. So if you're someone who's really struggling to get the deadlift started, right? If you're really failing like off the ground, deficit deadlift work is where you want to head, okay? So we'll break some of this down. I'll be doing some of the patterns for you here, and we'll pair these throughout the video, okay? So 3 big reasons. Once again, I love the mat deadlifts. If you're new to deadlifting, just do a simple wave down. You could do 3 mats, 2 mats, 1 mat, floor. That's 4 weeks. Start back over. Try to do a little more weight. 3 mats, 2 mats, 1 mat, floor again, right? Just for learning it. If you're preparing for a powerlifting meet, great way to wave down, right? You have to deadlift from the floor. So as you work closer to that meet, that last kind of opener weight should be from the floor. A few weeks out, start with more mats, okay? And the last reason is attacking weaknesses, all right? If you need more help with that lockout power, more mats. If you're having trouble getting the deadlift started, maybe you need less mats or even deficit.